Okay, we're here with Jerry Richmond, a good friend of mine, and actually one of the guys that kind of gave me my start in the industry. Most of you know that I ran one of the overkill trucks for a while, and Jerry was the reason for that. Him and Marty, I guess, seen hope in me or whatever, or seen a cheap person that they could hire. I don't know.
I probably owe you an apology. I'm sorry.
But Jerry just recently put together the old original. It's a replica of the Terminator truck. Tell us a little bit about, I guess, where did Terminator come from, or how did you get your start? What was the original inspiration for Terminator?
Well, it was probably a sickness. It started very early on. You know, I always like, who doesn't like big trucks and who hasn't liked big trucks? You know, I started out Terminator, you know, there's a bunch of pictures going around the internet of it as a street truck. And the guys that are out there, like Gary Bauer, Mike Vaughters, Mike and Dave with Excalibur, we were all street truck guys from the Ohio area, and of course Mike from Maryland. I've known those guys since the early 80s, you know, nearly 40 years now. And that's where it started. We all started the very first Jamboree at Marion County Fairgrounds. I met all those guys. I actually met Mike Vaughters on the way there as he passed me on Interstate 70 and hit the rear steering on the original Street Black Stallion. And I'm like, man, either he's going to wreck or there's something up. It's got rear steering. So, you know, we go back that far, and that's what started the whole deal. And then it progressed. The truck had 48s on it and 2.5 tons. Never was completed that way. And then I got really sick, and we went to 5 tons. Never was complete with 5 tons in it. And then we built a set of 5 tons with Clark Planetaries, and that's what Terminator was debuted in late '85.
85,
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I was curious what year it was. But now,
Yeah.
where was some of your first shows or events?
Well, the very first, well, you know, you did the local small stuff. You did some car shows. You did a couple parades and things like that. The very first indoor show was in Canton, Ohio at the Civic Center. And that's where the now famous or infamous, I don't know how to say that, one of those things took place. That's where I actually did a monster wheelie, totally by mistake. Had never hit cars like that before, and did a monster wheelie, and it actually stuck. The rear bumper hooked on the car, and it actually stuck and smoked the rear tires on the car at a 90-degree angle. And you know, to progress from there, Jesse Berge was there. Him and Deal Wilson working together, hooked the straps and pulled me back down to earth. And
that's where I think Deal Wilson said it scared yourself so bad you wet your pants or something. Is that?
Well, that's the rumor that's been going around for years. And to be quite honest, when it first happened, when I looked down, I actually thought I wet my pants, although I really wasn't that scared by it. I'm like, well, I guess. Then I felt it was actually, I'm going to stick with this story also. It was actually steering fluid that came out of the reservoir, which ran through the firewall and got in my drawers.
Okay.
So,
So good old tranny fluid or steering fluid.
Yeah.
That's great.
It wasn't yellow.
So then you progressed. Whatever happened to the original Terminator? Did you tear it apart?
The original Terminator was taken apart. It was campaigned for 1.5 years. It was taken apart in '87. It was dismantled in September of '87, and the axles and transfer case and the motor and everything went into the building of the Lethal Weapon truck.
Okay.
And that we built an all custom C-channel frame, which was kind of rare at that point in time, that early on. A lot of guys used big truck frames and such, and you know, we just thought the building it from scratch, a C-channel, would be a real clean way to do it, and real strong also, which it was. It was, you know, the truck's still in existence today. In fact, 1.5 years ago, I bought it back, and we're in the process of getting that ready to go back together too, which will be very, very cool because it's going to be 100% original truck.
That'll be really good. Now, what happened to it? You only ran it for a short period.
I ran it for 8 months, and got contacted. I had done some shows for Seth Dalton, Golden State Promotions, him, Jimmy Reese, those guys, all great guys. Seth called. They needed a Ford for a bunch of their shows, and he called. We came together on a number, and I sold the truck, and never thinking I would ever have a chance to get it back. I sold the truck to them. They campaigned it for many years, and when Seth got inducted into the Hall of Fame, we were talking. He goes, you know, Jerry, he goes, you know, I always hated Fords. He goes, that was one of the best trucks we ever had. And coming from those guys, because Jimmy Reese always built very nice equipment, and they always had top of the line stuff, that was quite a compliment.
Yeah, and then that truck went on to be like what, the Beverly Hillbillies?
That truck in the '90s movie, the Beverly Hillbillies, that was a truck. Actually, Jimmy Reese was driving it with the Beverly Hillbillies body on it, and that truck, yeah, went on to be in the movies.
Okay.
And quite honestly, I didn't even realize it was the truck when the movie came out until I was sitting there watching Mr. Barris do an interview, and the truck was behind him. And he's saying how they designed and built this truck specifically for that. And I'm sitting there and I'm looking, I'm like, wait a minute. No, Mr. Barris, with all due respect, you rebodied it, or Jimmy rebodied it. But, you know, not
like
disrespected Icon, but that's when I realized it was my truck in the movie.
Okay. So then after that, Lethal Weapon, or no, that was Lethal Weapon.
Yep.
And then Weapon 1. How did Weapon 1 come about?
Weapon 1 came about. Howie Elwell from Erie, Pennsylvania, Stroh Strider. Howie had this truck that he had rebodied and lengthened the frame, because Stroh Strider was a short wheelbase Chevy. He lengthened the frame and made it a Nightmare 2 truck, campaign Steve Hess's Nightmare name on it, for about a year or so. And the truck was sitting, not doing anything. Howie worked a full-time job, had a real good full-time job, and said, hey, I know you don't have a ride right now. Would you be interested in campaigning my truck? He goes, you're real good with the promoters at booking the events and stuff. So I took the truck, took to my shop, went all through it, kind of gave it my twist on it, and we named it Weapon 1. And that's where Weapon 1 came from. The truck was actually a very well-built truck, and I was very fortunate and very competitive. Howie did a great job building the truck. It was super strong, very, very reliable, had a good power, had a twin Predator blower motor in it, you know, probably 1,100 horse, and it worked out very well. I campaigned that truck for a couple years. And it was a fun truck. I had so much fun in that truck. It was incredible.